Hi, honeys. It's Michelle. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Las Vegas. We've got the windows open, we've got the curtains open, enjoying some fresh air, and then I just lit one of my new candles that I got at Home Goods. And I've just been reading and drinking some coffee this morning. And there is something that I have been studying lately as much as I can because it's something I really struggle with. And I thought, well, surely I'm not the only person that's struggling with this. With that in mind, I thought maybe it's a good idea to talk to you about it because and tell you some of the things I'm learning. Because if I'm struggling with it, you might be too, and maybe what I'm learning can help both of us. I have a confession to make. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And I'm certainly not as good as other people or as perfect as other people. I'm less than. I think one of my biggest flaws is that I compare myself to other people like crazy. And I think I always have, but I think it became worse with social media and the internet because then it's so hard to escape it. So while I have been looking at these different ways to stop comparing myself to other people, I have come across this article that I thought was really good. It's called 13 Things to Do Instead of Comparing Yourself to Others by Maria Stenvinkel. And I'll put the link down in the description if you want to check out her blog. I hope my neighbors aren't too loud, but you know what? If I wait for silence, I'll never film anything again. I think part of addressing any problem is one, to identify that you have the problem, and then two, to figure out what ways it's a problem. So the ways that I tend to compare myself to other people, and these are probably all very common, okay, but I just want to let you know, and that way it's out there and I can start moving forward, and you can let me know if you would like down in the comments how you compare yourself to other people. I compare myself to other people when it comes to money, especially being a member of my family. I seem to be the only one that doesn't own a home and doesn't make 6 or 7 figures a year. And I just feel like I've had a lot more of a struggle to get to where I'm trying to go than my parents or my siblings. And it's hard on me because it makes me feel like I'm less than. It makes me feel like I don't really belong in my family sometimes, if I'm just really honest here. One of the things I mentioned, home ownership. I feel like I compare myself to people based on whether or not they own a home, because I don't, and I've always felt like I should by now. And I really want to own a home. It's like very important to me, and it's just so hard to figure out how to do that. Another way that I compare myself to other people is decorum and minimalism. And what I mean by that is if I go into most people's homes, okay, you see behind me all this stuff on the wall. If I go into someone else's home, I usually see nothing on the wall or maybe one thing on the wall. If you come into my home, it's going to look like that. There's going to be stuff everywhere. And I've just decided maybe I need to stop comparing myself to other people in that way. I feel cozy and at home when my home is very decorated. And it's always, I think any home I live in will always be a little bit cluttered looking. It doesn't mean it has to be dirty in my house, but I'm always going to have a bunch of books and a bunch of stuff on the walls and a bunch of bright colors, and that's just how I do it. So I never really quite fit in with home decor. And I think about that a lot because I'm on YouTube and you see the inside of my home, and I get insecure. I think, oh my gosh, should I have homes like other YouTubers do where everything is sparkly and white and there's nothing anywhere? It looks like I'm living in a mausoleum or something. Okay, another way that I do that, and I'm sure a lot of us do this, pretty bodies. If somebody has a beautiful body, I immediately think I'm less than them, especially if they're petite and they wear a smaller clothing size. And, I just immediately think, oh, they look down on me because I'm big. And then the other thing that I do a lot is with YouTube, I compare myself to other people. I look at other YouTubers and I think, why are they growing so much faster than I am? Or why do they have so many more views than I do? Am I not likable? Is there something wrong with me? Should I be doing something totally different with my page? Right? Oh, hi. You're on the coffee table. Marty just jumped on the coffee table. That's why it shook. Now I'm going to read just different highlights of that article. Number one, water your own grass. When we focus on other people, we lose time that we could otherwise invest in ourselves. We don't grow green grass by focusing on our neighbor's garden. We do it in nurturing our own. So instead of wasting time comparing your path to someone else's, spend it investing, creating, and caring for your own. I think that's very sage advice, and I think it would be a good idea for me to write water your own grass on a post-it note and put it somewhere where I look regularly, because it's true. If I'm constantly worrying about how well someone else is doing, I'm not working on improving my situation, am I? Number two, accept where you are. Absolutely. I think the only way to change things is to accept where you are right now. Number three, love your past. Yes, I think this is a really important one. I used to beat myself up a lot over my past and the fact that I'd been divorced twice and Brad is my third husband and that kind of stuff. But then I realized that if I could live my life any other way, I wouldn't. I like the mistakes that I made and the lessons I learned, and I like who I am now. And I don't know, if I'm honest, people that maybe didn't make the mistakes I did, maybe they didn't need to, maybe they already had just automatically knew these things, or maybe they still haven't learned lessons that I have. Who knows? But comparing myself to them is not going to get me anywhere. I have the life that I have and the past that I have, and at this point it kind of feels like if I were in the military, I've got all these ribbons, all these things that I've been through and moved past and accomplished, and I'm happy with that. I'm not going to remove my ribbons just because maybe they weren't all pleasant to get. Number four, do a social media detox. We're constantly bombarded with people who live blessed lives on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. What we don't consider is that we often compare our own worst moments with someone else's highlight. Social media can be a great source for inspiration, but if it triggers inadequacy, self-doubt, and frustration, then choose to do a detox. Make sure you control social media and not the other way around. I really agree with this one, and I know you're on social media right now if you're watching me, but I think it's super important to be very careful about who you follow. Our time is so precious, and if you don't feel that someone has a positive effect on you, don't follow them or watch them or expose yourself to them. Life is too short. I used to do that a lot. I'd think, okay, well, I should watch this person or follow this person or like this person, but I don't. And I would kind of try to force myself to like or watch or follow certain people. And I just got to a point where the amount of negativity that I had towards myself was getting higher and higher and higher. I've just decided, and I did this a while ago, my therapist actually had kind of pushed me into doing that, really being careful about who I follow and why, who I watch and why, who I pay attention to and why. Especially when it comes to the news. It can get real negative real quick if you spend too much time looking at what's going on in the world. Because things are getting kind of serious out there, right? Kind of negative. It's been going on for what, a good year now or more. And I think it's very important to be careful about when you look at the news and why, and what news you look at, even. And that's part of why I've noticed on YouTube, different YouTubers will say, if you want to enter to win whatever, I need you to have all your um, subscriptions public so I know you're following me. And it's like, well, if I'm watching your videos and commenting on them regularly, obviously I'm probably following you. However, I'm not going to make who I follow public, because then I start getting insecure and thinking I have to follow certain people. I'm supposed to follow certain people. But if those people have a negative impact on my well-being, I'm not going to follow them, right? And I just don't want that extra pressure. So I've chosen to make mine private. But yeah, I'm very, very careful about who I follow and why, and who I watch and why. Our time is just so precious, and it can be anything. If what it's not that there's the person is a bad person, but if they make me feel insecure a lot, I'm not going to watch, or I'm not going to follow. There's someone I can think of right off the bat. If it's a famous person and I don't know what it is, but for some reason, when I used to follow her on Instagram, I would just feel less than every time I saw her posts. And I got to where life's too short. It's not worth it. And it doesn't even mean I don't like her. I just didn't like the way it made me feel to expose myself to that. Number 5, no, this isn't the end of the movie. If you're not happy where you are today, remember that this is just a snapshot of your life. Where you are today doesn't say anything about where you'll be in 1 or 3 years from now. What matters isn't where you are, but what matters is your mindset, attitude, and where you're going. And that's very true. And if you're having a hard time right now, one thing I can promise you is that when you look back on today, years from now, it won't seem so bad if you even remember today. Number 6, be grateful for what you have. I definitely try to think about this constantly, because I think about, okay, I have a roof over my head. It may not be a home I own, but I have a roof over my head. I have running water and electricity and clothing to wear and food to eat. I lead a pretty privileged life when I think of it that way. And I think what I get down on a lot is my health. And so we had just recently found out that my anemia is back. That's why you see this big bruise right here. It's from having my blood drawn. And I was starting to get really upset. It's like, gosh, it's one thing after another with my health. And then I had to take a step back and realize that no, if I'm going to have a health problem, I'm grateful for it to be anemia, because I'm going to go see my doctor next week, and it's pretty easy to deal with and fix. Sure, I might have to change how I eat or how I do certain things or how I live my life, but it's relatively easy to fix. It could be so much worse. I could have a health problem that is going to kill me in a week or a month or a year. Anemia is not going to kill me. It's just going to change how I do certain things. And that's okay. It could be so much worse. So I'm grateful that if I'm going to have a health problem, it's anemia and not something more severe. Okay, number 7. Do not let fear guide your choices. That's a rough one, but definitely I would say it's true. What I think when it comes to fear, being a high anxiety person, is that what you fear is usually not what will happen anyway. Not saying something bad won't happen, but whatever that fear is probably the one thing that's not going to happen. So it's not really worth worrying about it. Number 8, realize that you're not perfect. Well, I guess that's part of the problem, is I want to be. It's hard living with my cat Zelda. She is perfect. She's beautiful in every way. And it's hard to not feel, Like I should be perfect too. But number 9, be your own ally. That mean voice inside your head can tell you all kinds of BS. Mine has told me that I'm boring, stupid, and ugly in comparison to others, and a bunch of other awful things. When it comes to how you talk to yourself, I immediately thought of this story of just something that happened recently. I didn't realize that my anemia was back, and when Brad and I went home for Christmas, we were walking through the airport, and I kept getting so winded and weak, and I couldn't walk the speed I normally would. So it wasn't even that I'm out of shape. I mean, I am out of shape, but it wasn't that. It was beyond that, because I couldn't function the way I normally do. And the talk that I had in my head was insane. It was, why are you so lazy? Just keep walking. Stop being weak. What is wrong with you? Like, and I was beating myself up constantly. And then later I found out that there was a reason and it was valid. And I felt bad that I had been beating myself up so much about the lack of energy that I had. But I think one thing that is really important about being your own ally too is try to talk to yourself. This is what I'm trying to do. Obviously, I'm not there yet. I try to talk to myself like I would a friend. And what I mean by that is I find myself constantly when I'm talking to my friends saying, hey, you're being way too hard on yourself. Or, don't worry so much about this. You're doing everything you can to get where you're trying to go in your life. You're not there yet, but keep plugging away and you're going to get there, that kind of stuff. I want to talk to myself that way, the way I talk to my friends. And turn comparison into inspiration. Instead of letting other people's triumphs get you down on yourself, let them open you up to possibilities. Let them be inspiration for what you can be, do, and have in life. And that's a big thing too, I think, when it comes to social media. That's kind of my goal, is I'm trying to follow people that might be where I'm trying to go and help keep me motivated and help keep me looking at the prize, so to speak. Or I'll try to follow people that just really affect me in a positive, happy, or sometimes comforting way, depending on who it is. Stop shooting yourself. That's a fun one too. I think we all do that. I should do that, or I should have done that, or I should be this. But I think the important thing is stop looking in the rearview mirror. Realize that, okay, if you don't want to keep saying should, learn from it, live your life differently than whatever should have happened, and move on. So if you're constantly saying, I should be drinking a lot of water every day. Okay, start drinking a lot of water every day. Learn from that mistake and move on. Don't keep not drinking anything but soda, right? Number 12, compare yourself with you. If you need to compare yourself with someone, compare yourself with you. What can you do to improve your life quality? How can you be a better and more loving person? How can you be nicer to yourself than you were yesterday? You are the only person you can compare yourself with. Yeah, that's definitely true. And I find that even with competition, I'll notice sometimes that people seem to be competing with me, or I notice that I'm competing with them, and then I stop and think, why is this happening? We're two different people on two different journeys trying to achieve different things. Why are we competing with each other? Or why are, and it's true. You just compare yourself to yourself. And if, you got a C on your last test, and yeah, the person next to you might have got an A, but compare yourself to yourself. Next time, try to get a B and say, okay, I got a C last time, but now I got a B, and next time I'll get an A, and that kind of thing. Number 13, tell a better story. If the story you're telling yourself isn't one of empowerment, strength, and optimism, then tell a better story. I mean, that can be really hard right now. But I think right now, so many of us are going through loss in one way or another. I think it's important to stop and think, okay, I just lost this. Do I still need this? If you don't, just let it go. If you feel like you still do, figure out how to get it back. But I think this is such a good time to be able to sit down and evaluate what kind of life we want. Let go of that which no longer serves us and find new things that serve us, or embrace those things that serve us more. I think it's very important to do that. Just decide, hey, you know what? This person is affecting me really negatively. They're not going to be in my life anymore. I think a lot of people have become, are starting to break up with each other, so to speak. Maybe they don't like someone else, or they feel like their relationship is a one-way relationship and they want a two-way relationship. And that's okay. It's okay to let people go. It's okay to let things go. It's okay to let your job go, your home, and just find something new. Or maybe you've decided that, hey, I'm so tired of the world that I'm living in right now. Maybe the city I live in isn't for me. Maybe it's time to pack up and move to Butte, Montana. I don't know. I mean, whatever you think is the best for you, this is a really good time to figure that out. That was a long-winded way of saying that, but I've got a couple things I want to mention that I find really helpful. There's a quote that I really love that is very simple, and it's just, be unapologetically you. I think if we're unapologetically who we are, it's easier to not compare ourselves to other people. So I have this prayer journal that I put together, and every night I've kind of got it. I'm trying to get more regimented with things. I find that it's really helping. And so every night I do my prayer stuff, and I'm not going to get into that in case you're not interested in that. But what I want to tell you about this is that I put a section in here in the back, and it's called the gratitude section. And so what I do is every night after I've done all my prayer stuff and that kind of journaling, let me move to an empty page here because it's nobody's business, Then I'll write the day and what I'm grateful for on that day. And I'm finding that that is really elevating not just my happiness, but my acceptance of who I am and my ability to not compare myself so much to others. And the last thing I want to mention about comparing ourselves to other people is that you don't really know what other people are going through. And you might actually have a much better life if you want to compare yourself. You might actually have a much better life than the person that you think is so much better than you are. Maybe that woman is beautiful and she's a size 0 and she has pretty long blonde hair and she's a supermodel. But maybe nobody loves her and she's lonely and she hates her life, and every night before she goes to bed she thinks about killing herself. Or, I mean, you don't know. You don't really know what people's lives are really like. And I think that's part of the problem with comparing ourselves to other people in this day and age, is we're comparing ourselves, like that article said, to people's highlight reels. You're not comparing yourself to who they really are. You're seeing them with makeup, and you're seeing them with what's that stuff called? Those filters that make people's skin look nicer and make them look prettier. And I think it's hard, whether it be on Instagram or YouTube or anywhere, when all you see is these beautiful, perfect people who are so done up all the time and just look amazing in their, designer clothes and that kind of stuff. And most of us aren't really like that, and they probably aren't either when they're at home. I remember Cindy Crawford said one time that she wishes that she looked the way she does. But in real life, when she doesn't have the makeup and the face tuning, she doesn't look like that. And I guess one other little thing here is that if you think about the guy with the Ferrari that you might be jealous of, what does he have to do to get that Ferrari? And is that really the life that you want to live? It might not be. Maybe you really prefer a more simple life that is where you don't have to work so hard 18 hours every day, and you can relax on the couch and read a good book or watch a movie with your loved ones and be grateful that you have loved ones, because maybe that guy that works 18 hours a day doesn't have any loved ones. But definitely let me know how you compare yourself to others. Let me know if you have any ideas about how myself or anyone else watching can stop comparing themselves to other people. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. I love you. Bye.